I am Chris.
And I'm Matt.
Welcome to Roleplay Chat.
We're two game masters who just can't stop talking about role-playing games.
And today we talk about player absence. This is the short version of our long discussion, the Roleplay Chat discussion.
So if there's something you might want to look into, we'll link it up here. But for now, we're going to give you 6 ways to deal with player absence. Someone who calls in sick, someone who doesn't show up last minute. How do you deal with it as a game master? We're going to tell you how. So the first thing that we have on our list, and actually we're going to go in order of more obvious to more interesting, maybe more nuanced solutions. The first one is one that I'm sure you've all probably done before, is just have your player characters disappear or reappear if people are there or not.
Yeah, don't ask questions. Everybody knows they're somewhere else. No reason. That's all.
That's it.
Second one is to have the character be there, but just follow and becomes almost of an NPC that the player can control, like a puppet. Like, you keep the cart. They follow along.
They don't say anything. They don't do anything.
No interaction whatsoever, but they follow. They're there if you need a corpse.
Pretty much. The next tip, also relatively obvious, is have someone play that character. It could be the game master or another player. We found that the best solution for this is to kind of split the task between both. Have the game master control the character when you're investigating or kind of outside of combat, and then have another player take charge of the character when there is combat, deciding what kind of attacks to do, the tactical positioning, other stuff like that.
After that, if you want to play, but you don't want to continue the main plot, you can do a side quest. So going on a detour line and finding something else to do, that might actually help the players, maybe a quest for equipment or for something you need in the story, but it's not really where the story was going if everybody would be there.
And this is an especially good solution if you find yourself in a natural lull, or maybe not a lull, but the players find themselves in a situation where it's possible for some of them to break off from the main group to go do something else. Like Chris was saying, go get a weapon, maybe deliver something for someone, maybe it's escort someone from one town to another, kind of like a filler episode in a TV show.
For 5, we have finding a narrative reason. So for me, this is my go-to. This is what my first instinct goes to. It's if someone is missing, I want to find a reason why the character would leave. And I want to make it so that it brings the story forward. It makes the story even more interesting. It fleshes out the character. It brings something to the table that would not be possible otherwise.
You can also add a little bit more to this by asking or speaking to the player who's not able to be present. You can ask them and say, hey, while you're gone, we're going to take your character and make them do something else. What do you want that to be? Or is there a way for your character to do an action or present information to the rest of the party so that they're still having an impact on the progress of the story? Something really cool that you could do is maybe have your character write a letter to the rest of the party, or maybe have them go and assassinate a target that the rest of the party finds, in their exploration. Something like this where their actions, the actions of your player character, are still important despite your absence being gone, or despite your absence, I guess.
Yes. There's so many ways to do it, right? Being kidnapped, being called by your family away, or anything you can come up with as a good reason.
And kind of to add to this, you can also then try to find the time to do a one-on-one session with that player. If you have a night that's free, a couple hours, it's free. Maybe you even just do it over the internet, over Roll20, over Discord or something, and you just have that little role play engagement session where that player still gets the opportunity to move the plot forward, although they were unable to be present at the game.
Yes.
The last tip,
but not least,
but definitely not the least, is to try to come up with like a time warp where your characters, the actual plot gets put on pause, and you go back in time, or even It can be a couple of years, it could be a couple of weeks, and have your players either embody an NPC or a faction and have that faction do something, almost like a small one-shot adventure that gives more context to the actions and the motivations of that faction.
Yeah, let's say you've done a big plot reveal a couple of games before where this guy is the mean whatever. You can go back and reenact this scene and it brings more information, but in a way that's really interesting and the reveal is already done. So
Mm-hmm.
you could do that. And that way all the players would probably play NPCs in your campaign, but that's okay.
Yeah. Another kind of variant to this is if you're a player with a player character who has something in their backstory that they haven't properly fleshed out yet, and you need help from the rest of the people at the table, you could actually reenact that. Maybe you have a scar that you don't know what the scar is from, so you can go back in time to the time you fought the beast in the cave, and the other players could be their player characters, or even better, they could maybe be an NPC that's linked to you in an unknown way. And you could, really dig into that and try to develop more of the background and the bonds that your character has.
Yeah, and that's a gift for the game master who can now use all of that in his campaign, his or her campaign as a tool.
Mm-hmm.
But be warned, this method is really cool. I love it, but it needs to be once in a while. Like it
Oh
needs
yeah,
to
yeah.
not every 2 or 3 games because otherwise you just like main plot and you go back and then main plot a little bit and then go back. It needs to be special. So that's for the 6 tips. But now that we talk about how to deal with absent players, and that is bound to happen,
Mm-hmm.
in the roleplay chat, we actually started with how can we mitigate those absences? How can we try to have them happen less and less?
And really, the main consensus, and I think now that we talk about it, it
Mm-hmm.
is a little clearer, is you should express those expectations to your players as a game master. If you expect your players to be present almost all the time, you should tell them that. Um,
Yeah, if it's okay for you, it's more a casual game, and it's okay for people to jump in and jump out. Then I mean, you don't really have to have this discussion. I guess
yeah.
it could be a good thing so that the players don't become frustrated with other players that are more serious, I
Uh-huh.
guess. So yeah, it's setting expectations always really important in role playing games, and there's different ways to do it. So
Hmm.
if you want that casual feel, we talked about having more players than you actually want. Let's see, you have 7 or 8 people that are kind of part of the game, but it's okay if 2, 3 people are missing
Hmm.
or absent, but then it's fine and it's no big deal.
Yeah. Another expectation that you might want to set, if this is how you want to play your games, is have the opposite. Have a more structured system. And this is actually something that we've started doing and we really enjoy it, is where we actually create like a season where we have a couple of months, maybe 3 or 4 months, and every second day, or no, every second week in that month, we have a game. And that day is predetermined so that we can kind of, other obligations in our life can be planned in accordance to those scheduled games. And in this system, the expectation is very clear that if you can't, or if you predict that you're not going to make 2 or 3 of those games in that season, you probably shouldn't register in the first place, so that everyone that's there is, in it for good, and this is our top priority.
Yeah, and let's say you still want to play, you could work with a mix where it's a subbing system where you say, you know what, if someone misses, call me,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
but otherwise I'll assume I'm not gonna come. But otherwise, the scheduling is you're supposed to be there, and I really like it because as the game master, it removes responsibility on me on having to schedule it and call everybody. Instead, the players have to call me, and it's a lot easier to organize.
So I think, Chris, that covers most of what we talked about in that episode. If you guys really enjoyed the tips that we gave you here and you wanted to know a little bit more of the details and kind of see the more expanded version, I'd encourage you to check out our other video, our roleplay chat video, where we really dig in more into more depth.
Also, we touched a little bit on one-on-one. So this is a subject that's going to come in the following weeks. The next Blood and Betrayal is actually a game that's going to be between me and Matt alone, where he played his character Diedrich and what happened while the other ones were doing the main plot.
Yeah, so that's I'm really looking forward to talking about that for sure. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed watching and listening. So thank you very much. If you wanted to reach out to us, I encourage you to do so. We always love hearing what you have to say. So you can either comment down below. You can also reach us on Twitter. That's roll_play_chat on Twitter.
Or we have an email, that's contactroleplaychat@gmail.com.
And I think that's everything we have for today, Chris.
That's all, Matt.
Let's call it a chat.